Joy to the Max Extreme here,
Dinosaur Neil,
and Ghost Hunter Dave.
and together we span the vistas as Imperius Rex.
So, gentlemen, this is a momentous occasion we found ourselves in. Why are you laughing at?
I don't. I only assume it's going to branch off into one of two ways. One is going to be
Here's
good,
a picture of my dick.
It's going to be either dick pics or a dig at me.
It's neither, but we're only on the first episode of the day. So, all roads led us here.
Sure.
To the return of Saga. One of the probably most popular comic books, certainly today, maybe of all time.
Maybe. Definitely independent books, for show.
Mm-hmm. I was doing a little research on Saga. It outsells The Walking Dead.
Does it?
In collected editions.
Wow.
Good for it.
I know. Yeah.
Knock those zombies down a peg.
On that note, like The Walking Dead is like a genre kind of to itself over here that Saga spans like way more. And I think it's accessible to a whole lot more people. Even though it's got very questionable things for everybody in it.
Yeah. Saga is, I think, the definition of a book that you could probably give about anyone, as long as they're not like a prude.
Yeah.
And I think they will get completely wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
And love it and be like, oh, these are comics, huh?
Yeah. I think it's one that you can give to your significant other and be like, this is what good comics are.
And this is what I'd like to do later.
Yes. Also, if you check out page 29,
You'll see it's bookmarked.
Dog-eared to death.
And something of a watermark, if you will. So, this is a book that it's had critical acclaim since it first came out. And that was back in 2012. It ran for 54 issues before taking a brief hiatus. And this book, Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples are the parents of Saga. They have been known to take little hiatuses between the volumes just to give themselves a little time to recharge. Well, this most recent hiatus was 3 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are coming back to it right now when it has just returned to the stands and everyone is like all up in arms to receive Saga all over their bodies again. It seemed like the time was right. This is something we've thought about doing for quite a while.
Yeah.
And truth be told, we're not even caught up on it.
Nope.
We all just read it like for the first time just now. Like now it seems like as good a time as any.
Yeah.
And let me say, I'm very glad we waited.
Yeah.
Because the chunk that we're talking about here today, that could just be the story for me. I thought it was wonderful, and when it got to that break there, I was like, I'm just gonna sit with this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Sit with my feelings.
Yeah.
I don't need a whole lot more right now. And even though the newest issue just came out, 55, I read it because I felt like I had to, but then I'm just gonna let it pile up for like another 9 trades because I enjoyed just flying through it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would enjoy it as much month to month.
Yeah. It does read very well in trade form. You get their whole idea what they're going for. It's got like a whole arc in that thing as well as like bleed into other arcs, but reading an issue at a time, I'm just like, come on.
Come on, people like this.
I need to have a little bit more.
Yeah. And then there's also like there's like big sections of cliffhangers that happen too. So like having to wait for something like that would just be awful.
I would say every issue ends with like a pretty major cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And not to like a cheesy effect, but like we were talking earlier that this is a book that it's story driven, obviously, but it's very, very character driven. And you just get so attached to all of the characters, good and bad, that you could just follow them and not even like, I don't even need to see them get into conflict. I just want to see these characters. And we were saying like, I guess you would kind of compare it to like a soap opera, even though that sounds negative. But like, maybe I should watch soap operas because I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a telenovela, like almost the kind of stuff that one of our main characters gets in kind of halfway through.
The one thing that still blows me away in the 9-10 years or so that this has been out, I have somehow managed to stay completely spoiler-free on this entire book.
Yeah.
And it is like one of the most heralded books. Everyone reads Saga. Everyone tells you to read Saga.
Right.
But the Saga community is apparently very good at keeping themselves tight-lipped about what goes on in this. Because, like, I knew who the characters were. I think I read the first 2 trades when it came out and then just took a break. Mm-hmm. But, like, I didn't know anything that happened in this. And I was so thankful for that because it would have hit completely different if I'd known everything that was around the corner.
Well, everyone probably thinks, everybody reads this, so why am I going to
Why even talk about it? Why are we even doing this show? If you haven't read Saga and you're watching us for like the recommendation to jumpstart you to go read it, pause this or let it play in the background, but don't listen in. Don't let us spoil it for you because we're going to spoil the hell out of every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And we're just going to like rattle off some of our favorite moments. But if you are considering reading it, just read it.
Yeah. All recommends.
Yes.
Are positive from us.
Yes.
Get a thumb in there, Dave.
Oh, we're doing the thumb. Troy, real quick, do you want to just give a synopsis of the entire story?
Sure. So it's like a Shakespearean intergalactic love story.
It's Romeo and Juliet in space.
That's right. You have your 2 warring factions on this planet of landfall, and the moon called Wreath.
Yep.
And these 2 races of people have been continually at war for eons, decades even.
Yep.
And in that, 2 star-crossed lovers meet, and they fall in love by just the fact that they share the same likes of a single book.
Yeah, a super cheesy, like, dime store romance that may have a deeper meaning of super anti-war sentiment.
They fall in love due to that respect. They get together, have a child, which to both sides is an abomination. So they go into hiding to save this child, and on that whole journey, they meet a cavalcade of different characters, either on their side, but mostly not on their side, until they might be on their side.
Right, with some
Until they are chickens.
Yes. Very touch and go with everyone they meet.
Yeah.
There's robot characters with television screens for heads. There's
varying sizes and models.
lie detecting cats. There's large testicled monsters. A lot of sex.
Oh my gosh.
It's super fun. It throws everything in it in a blender, and somehow it all comes out tasting good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how it did it, but it does it.
I think one of the reasons it's so immediately accessible, despite what you just described, is like, where the fuck do I even start on that? Every character is super identifiable, and they talk in just everyday speech patterns.
Yeah.
Which you could look at and be like, well, that's lazy writing. But it's not, because I don't think he's trying to make this grand space opera. I think he's trying to tell a very real, character-centric love story that's super anti-war, and he's dressing it up, just like the author of those stupid dime store books, as this big, crazy, like, intergalactic thing, when it's like, it really isn't about that at all. It's just about these 2 people.
I found that actually very refreshing for like this out there space adventure that they're not like, in 12 cycles we will get our Moombala and do whatever. No, they just speak like you and us would speak to each other.
Yeah.
Like there's fucking trains and cars and they just say it like how it is. It's nice.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't even think they talk about trains and cars ever once, but I'm just saying
if they did.
My son is with me today and he loves trains and cars.
They jumped on a train once.
That's very true. There is one train.
There's one train confirmed. But what I like about the whole genre and kind of how we've been saying it, it's cool that like there's like magic too. But so the
throw some magic in there too.
Exactly. And it's not even used all that much, but it's got its specific uses and it's got its like little deeper meanings that kind of teach lessons along the way. But it's cool that one of these factions is like your fantasy magic based group. And then your other faction is this like like
More tech.
more tech,
They're more like
and like
us, I would say.
Yeah, instead of fantasy, it's more science fiction.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like science fiction versus fantasy, and that's just to like be like, I think it's like BKV just saying, I'm just going to do them all because it doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. So like, I'll make it work, and it doesn't matter, and it only helps to solidify the difference between them, kind of, that how they interact with each other, like these two species. There's a million different species in this, by the way. Like, there's just a bear who's a nurse.
Like, some of them are just big animals.
Yeah. Like, they meet a family of religious meerkats.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's got a lot going on, but what I'm trying to say is
Religious
it doesn't matter.
meerkats.
Yeah, it is.
That is how I describe them.
There's also like ghosts in this as well.
Yeah.
And they got a whole lot of ghost culture, I guess, on this one spot, and then
But it doesn't matter. Like,
No. They could all be the same alien race.
Exactly.
And it would just be less visually interesting.
Right. All of this could happen with just people. Like, it could just be a completely human story, and none of this really matters. But, like, the fact that it's all there is just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because when he first pitched this and it came out, I think his main drive was like, I am gonna write something that there is no way they can adapt this into a movie or a show.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't believe this isn't like a cartoon on like Amazon or something like what they did with Invincible.
Yeah.
I feel like when Invincible was so well received, they gotta be thinking like, all right, what's the next Invincible? And the fact that they haven't even tried Saga yet is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It could really, I think, easily be adapted to animation because it lends itself very well to like having it be surreal in spots and all that other stuff.
Imagine just how beautiful like those space vistas would look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fiona Staples' artwork and the painting, the digital coloring that she does is just mind-blowing in this.
And it gets better too.
Yeah.
Like you would think like exhaustion would set in at one point and you'd cut corners.
Yeah.
I really think it gets better throughout. Like at one point she can just fucking whip it out.
Yeah.
and just plow through it because she's done it by muscle memory so much that.
And it's so interesting because like her style is very loose and pretty simple. But it just works so well for the story that you can just breeze through it. Like you can like sit down there and just really take in all these panels. And they are simple, but you just get lost in how beautiful it looks.
Yeah.
And how like well she renders these people and like the expressions, especially on the women in it. I think Alana is just gorgeous through this entire book.
Yeah.
Like I fell in love with her through this.
One cool bit about it kind of incorporates the art and the storytelling all together is that like there is an overarching story being told by the child.
Yeah.
And all of her stuff is written, like handwritten in like the panels.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool aspect. Like that's the narrator talk going on, and then there's speech bubbles of what's happening in that moment.
Yeah.
But it's I thought that was such a really cool detail to add in.
That's Fiona Staples' handwriting too.
Yeah, she did all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole book is being told through Hazel, which is the love child of Marco and Alana, the two people that fell in love and kicked off this whole saga. And her insight is like someone that's grown up and she's looking back and just thinking about her life and the journey that she is on. And it is amazing how equally humorous and insightful and ominous it is throughout the whole thing. Where like she'll say like, "Oh yeah, that was really fun. That was great. That was the last time our family was together." And you're just like, "What?" What?
Yeah. Surely that can't be true. And then like you realize like, well, I guess they haven't been together in a while.
Like, oh no.
Turns out she wasn't lying.
So one interesting aspect of this, like the war that's taking place, the two fighting factions agreed that they can't fight this on their own soil because it'll obliterate their planet. So the war is also stretching out across the galaxy and pulling in like all of these other people that have no stake in it, but forcing them to like pick a side. And it's interesting how no matter where Alana and Marco and Hazel go, it's always like right on their heels.
Yeah. Because the war was fought at home for a little bit until they realized like, this sucks. We can't have our shit destroyed all the time. Let's just take it out there, man.
Yep.
And then to the point where it's been out there for so long, that, like, the original warring factions are, like, kind of living at peace on their home planet.
Yeah, they're just normal people now.
Because the war's not there.
Yeah, pretty good critique there, BKV.
Yeah.
And then they pulled in all these other different races, like the android race, which are almost, what would you call them? Almost like indentured servants to the Landfallians.
I guess. I'm not
Like, they have
quite
their
sure
own,
how...
like, royal family structure, but
Yeah.
it seems like they're more just, like, on hand to serve the needs of the wings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know at least they are working together, but it seems like the only buddy that's well off on that whole robot race is the monarchy.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, just schlubs.
Yeah.
Janitor
Janitors.
schlubs.
Yeah.
Who really wants to get in his licks before he goes.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
All right.
Can we talk about the robots?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's just
How
get right
do they
into
work?
it.
Yeah, and there is some brilliant dialogue on some of these things, because there's one point where there's a robot who's been, like, just cut in half and stuff, and, like, they are essentially humans with a TV screen for a face, because
Yeah.
they got guts spilling out and everything, and there's
Blue bloods.
Blue bloods is what they call them. There's one line that made me laugh out loud, is like, he was like, I'd like to have one more drink of this, and then he dies before he does it, and then the person says, oh man, I was really hoping to find out how they drink. It's pretty awesome, but they are baffling, because they're still very human. Like, they are not robots. They are called robots, but
Yeah.
they are not robots.
Yeah.
Like, they act so human. They all have, like, real genitalia. They do everything just the same, except they've got a TV screen face.
But goddamn, Prince Robot the Fourth,
Yeah.
just one of the greatest characters in this entire book.
Yep.
He starts off like he's someone that also is pulled into this. Like, there's so many characters that they're wrapped in, and it's not their business and it's not their war, but
Yeah.
they get sucked into it, and now they're our villains. Unfortunately, even though they have no beef with Alana and Marco,
Yeah.
they just have to kill them before they can go home to their own family.
Yeah.
And Prince Robot has a son on the way. His wife is pregnant, and he's shipped off to try to find these two deserters, and he can't go home to his son until he finds them.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing, he's just like, just get this shit over with. I want to track these people down. And then through a series of horrible events that goes throughout the entire book, he ends up, like, kind of shacking up with them and being part of their posse.
Right?
Yeah.
And the shift in his character throughout this whole thing is so great.
Yeah.
Especially the way he's written, which seems like a British aristocrat
Yeah.
for the most part. I just kept reading him as Michael Fassbender's British character in Inglourious Bastards. That's just how I read everything Prince Robot said. It just made it all the more enjoyable.
Yeah. His story really becomes analogous with the main character, like the Alana and Marco too. Like, he ends up kind of being on this a very similar quest as they are, but like, he still won't. He's still kind of abrasive towards everything.
Yeah,
so like, he's pretty selfish, very selfish, I'd say.
And that's why I feel like he butts heads with everybody. He's like, yeah, I'll work with you, you fucking son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'll do it my own way.
And his
Yeah.
TV screen is constantly giving him up, too.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes. I think, like, at one point he's having sex with this person, and it's just sex. But on his screen it flashes, I love you. And she's like, wait, what? And he's like, no, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
Circus, man, they cross.
When he gets knocked out, it goes, like, rebooting. Please wait. And then, like, sometimes he just gets scattered, and he gets these weird, like, porn images flashing up on his screen, too.
Yeah. Well, the very first times you see him early on in like Trade 1, it shows him, and I don't know what he's thinking about, but it's just a series of money shots happening on his screen.
On a bunch of guys.
Yeah. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
He's fluid.
Yep.
Oh, I saw a lot of fluids on that screen.
Well, he kind of comes to the realization when he's talking with the author, where they're both kind of sharing their anti-war sentiment, and Robot is someone that's been through the shit, and he pretty much has, like, PTSD through a lot of this.
Yeah.
And he comes up, he says the amazing quote of, the opposite of war is fucking. And he means it, like, straightforward. Like, war is ending life. The opposite of that is fucking. And that was, like, what he was imagining, I think, when he was near death on the battlefield.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
sure.
something that, like, keeps coming back to him
Yeah.
and why he's all horned up all the time. But the author that they find is so great in this.
Yeah.
I loved him. There's some just amazing lines from his book, too, and one of them was something like, don't worry what other people think about you because no one ever thinks about you.
Yeah.
It's just like, what does that even mean? And Hazel is talking to her teacher later on when she ends up in, like, this child care center, and she's like, oh, my mom and dad said they learned everything from this book, and the teacher says something like, not to any slight against your parents, but people that think that one book has all the answers hasn't read enough books.
That's also a very great line.
The whole thing, not only is it very deep and insightful in a lot of ways, it's also hilarious in others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where just some of the dialogue is so natural, especially like when they're fucking.
Yeah.
And they just have like these really goofy moments.
Yeah.
It's explicit when it needs to be, and cheesecake when it needs to be. Serious. It all works complete. And I love it because like it is an adult title that's not afraid to be very explicit in certain times. You're like, this is kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
You know, you go from reading like months of like Spider-Man or Batman or any big two stuff, and you're like, yeah, just action, blah blah blah. And then you get to like actual family moments and then explicit sex moments, and you're like, I really like this. This is way refreshing in real life shit.
Yep.
The one example of that is like, it was a page flip and you're like, oh my god! It's like Prince Robot the Fourth is laying in bed. And it's like a screen him laying in bed. The middle panel is just an entire like page length thing of his penis. Just erect. And then whatever he's watching and you're just like, jeez! Man.
There's one moment where it talks about when they first had Hazel, like when they conceived her. Alana's like, oh my god, did you finish inside me? And Marco says like, you told me to. And she's like, no, that was sexy Alana. She's crazy. And he's like, I believe your exact words were, please shoot it in my twat.
That's just stuff everyone in the family could enjoy.
Yep.
You know?
But at the same time, I'm reading it in a room where my entire family is, and Chelsea will peek over my shoulder like, what are you reading?
So outside of like the sexual craziness, there's also, well, I guess it is more sexual craziness. I was gonna say there's a variety of monsters, but everything I'm gonna remark on involve their enormous genitalia. They find a dragon. They have to get dragon semen at one point. They track it down to its cave, and it's just sitting there sleeping with the biggest fucking boner just pointed right in its mouth. Just sitting there, licking its dick
Yeah.
as it's sleeping.
And we can't forget about the giant Fard.
Fard. All he says is
All
fard.
he says is Fard. But he's just a huge giant with the biggest nuts you've ever seen. It's just like, it doesn't need to be this way, but it's just the best thing to turn a page to.
So how about the bounty hunters that are on their tail through a lot of this? Primarily the Will and his trusty companion, Lion Cat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I really like the Will in this. There's a few times where I found like there's a questionable choice of like, why'd you do Fat Will? Yeah, I get it. He came over like about a depression and all that kind of stuff. I get it, but I'm like, you just wanted to make him more visually interesting, and I like his look. He's got a great look.
Yeah.
I love that he has a cape. He wears a cape with a mask, a cowl that he never puts on until the end when he gets like mind controlled by somebody.
Yeah.
And the whole time, like, what's up with that fucking cowl?
Right.
But I think, didn't it flash back to him as a kid and he was watching TV and like a character on TV wore a cowl?
Oh,
So I didn't
might
know
have
if
missed
like
it.
maybe that was his thing that inspired him from childhood.
Yeah.
Must have been. It's cool though because like his sister, I guess, is also like there's a ton of bounty hunters in this. Like
They all go by the.
yeah, the something. And
The
it's-
brand is his sister.
And that's pretty awesome. And I'm only bringing this up to remark on his cape again. That she said it was dumb and it was just a stupid costume choice for him.
She's awesome though. She's got a David Bowie, John Constantine look to her.
Yep.
Yeah.
But isn't in the book terribly long before she's just like
Halved.
by the dragon, right?
Yep, pretty
The
much.
dick dragon.
Yep.
Yeah.
But finished himself and finished her.
Yeah.
And she has her own animal companion, like a giant Saint Bernard that shoots darts through its nose.
Yeah.
Just But Lion Cat, just one of the MVPs of this whole book.
Yeah.
There's a moment where he gets sucked out of an airlock, and I was like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah.
And then Will, like, dives out after him, saves him, and, like, uses his weird little lance to pull him back in. I was like, God damn, Will.
That's a good...
Just fucking...
Nothing but
melted my
comic
heart.
relief from Lying Cat. And it's just a cat that tells you if you're lying.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it just says lying.
Lying. Shut up and go away.
Yeah.
There's this page where Sophie is just sitting there, like, just being a little girl, and she's like, my name's Sophie. I'm 7 years old. When I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor or a dentist or something. And I'm dirty inside because of all these horrible things that I did. And then Lion Cat's sitting beside her and he just goes, lying. And then she, like, smiles and, like, hugs him.
Yeah.
It's just like, she knew it, but she just kind of wanted confirmation that, like, I'm not an awful person because of these things that happened to me.
Yeah.
And he just was, like, just this comfort animal, just giving her this reassurance. I was like, that is so fucking sweet.
That was one I just stayed on for a minute. I was like, oh, man.
Lion Cat's doing it.
The Will is probably one of, like, the... he's, like, on par with Prince Robot the Fourth on, like, importance to, like, the story, everything going on. Like, there's
very
a good...
complicated.
Yeah.
Because he's bad, but you don't ever hate him. Even though by the end, he does something very despicable.
Yeah.
But, like, through the whole thing, you're just kind of, like, rooting for him to get his act together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's... Saying he's bad is also kind of like... He just gets paid to do stuff, and then he goes and does it.
Right.
And he's determined, I will say that. So it's just like, it's unfortunate that he's pitted against our characters, but you still find yourself in love with him, because, like, you're just like, man, he's doing it. He's going to get better, and he does some great things in the book.
Your first introduction to him almost, he saves a young girl from, like, a child prostitution ring. Mm-hmm. This, like, 6-year-old girl that he names Sophie, because she was just called Slave Girl up until then. Her pimp or whatever is like, yeah, she'll do whatever you want. And he's just, like, astonished by this. And she's like, yeah, I'm 6 years old. I'll do whatever you want me to. And he's like, then shut your eyes. And then he just butchers the pimp and, like, takes her out of there. I'm like, God damn, Will.
Yeah.
You're a good guy.
Awesome.
I also love that his name is really Billy.
Yeah.
When he loses the, he's just Billy.
Also,
Bill.
The William.
The William.
I also like, too, because, like, you get the complications of, like, family life with the Will as well. He doesn't, like, really like his sister that much because they butt heads.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, his sister's name is Sophie.
Yeah.
So he names the slave girl Sophie.
Yeah.
So it's like...
And he's just destroyed when he finds out she's dead, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he did love her, even though, like, they didn't always see eye to eye.
His uncle is great. He shows up in, like, 2 panels, but he's the one who kind of got him into bounty hunting.
Yeah, he's the one that inspired him. He beat up his dad.
He killed his dad with that axe that he has in, like, a holster on his, like, leg. Kind of on the topic of Sophie, I guess, and, like, more or less, and more broadly, like, there's a lot of children in this, I guess you'd say, and, like, it's, like, I found myself being, like, why would you, like, you guys, like, all of you need to make better decisions. Everybody across the board needs to make better decisions. But, like, a lot of them, like, the children are learning really hard lessons in this. Of decisions they make that end up getting people wiped out. And it's, like, it's like, almost, like, so tense for me to read because, like, the Will's sister gets killed because they're like, you gotta stay back, kid. And she's like, I gotta prove myself. And he's like, just stay back. We're gonna take care of this dragon. Sucking his own finger. But, like...
Scoop up this nut.
Yeah. But then,
bladder.
like, she thinks she can do it. And then goes and does it. And it ends up getting somebody killed. Like, and all of, like, the children in this have moments like that. Where they're like... And it's so hard to read because you're just like, just... do as you're told.
You have no idea.
I know. I'm not completely aware.
How many times I have to utter that in a certain day, and yet I am not halved. Thank God.
Very good.
And neither are your children.
But my time is coming soon.
So, if we're talking about cute creatures, like Lion Cat,
Are we talking about Goose?
I think we gotta talk about Goose.
God.
Because at first he shows up on Heist's like little planet.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's just like a walk-on role or whatever.
Yep.
And he's in it for way longer, and I applaud him for being around longer.
Yeah.
I read him as just a very friendly, like, Minnesotian person. Like, his speech pattern and his dialect, I read it like a character from Fargo.
Yeah.
Oh, hey there. How are you?
Name's Goose.
Hey, is this my friendo?
But he teaches a lot of lessons. He's a good caretaker, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is a lot of
How to love again.
Yeah, he is a good caretaker, though.
Yeah. They go through a couple. There's a teacher that basically, like, puts her neck on the line to help Hazel get back to her family. There's Isabel, who is one of the ghosts that forms, like, a bond with Hazel. It's the only way that she can get off the planet in the rocket tree forest that they leave from. Just another random thing, like, okay.
Yeah.
But Isabel was great, and she was one that I kept thinking, like, is she gonna do something horrible? But no, she's just a great character that unfortunately meets her end ways into it. Just kind of a unceremonious death where you're like, oh, fuck.
Right.
Like, the good characters do go in this, unfortunately.
They sure do.
But a lot of them hang on way longer than I initially thought they might, too.
Right. Right. Like, even after they're hanging on by a thread, they're like, can we say... Because we've already seen, like, some characters die, just like, they're gone forever.
Like the Stalk.
Yeah.
Who is the Will's ex-girlfriend that he's still pining over.
Yeah.
And then she gets killed, but he imagines her through the rest of the book, basically. I think maybe they didn't realize how much they liked that character. And they're like, is there any way we can bring her back in?
Yeah, because they killed her way early.
Yeah. Robot kills her.
Yeah.
There's also so many times where, like, one of our main characters does something that completely fucks with another one. Yeah. And they don't know it's him until, like, way into the book. And then when it finally happens, you're just like, oh, shit, yeah, he's responsible for that. Oh, it's gonna go down now. Like, I completely forgot that's what this whole thing started from.
Yeah.
And you almost hate to see it, because a lot of those characters will meet up, and they're all, like, either against each other for some reason. So you got all these characters who you know are converging on each other. And you're just like, oh, when they meet, you know one of them is probably going to die.
I like them all, though. I don't want to pick.
Well, luckily they pick for you in those instances.
Marco's parents who pop up, I loved. Like, the mom and dad who are initially very put off by, like, oh, you shacked up with this Landfallian whore. And then they end up just like, you know what, you love her and you have this kid, so we're gonna do whatever it takes to protect you. The dad, like, sacrifices himself to patch up their ship, I think, that's crashing, because he's weaving some kind of magic. And like, the family's down in, like, the boiler room or the engineering room, and he's, like, holding his ship together, and Alana's like, no, your heart. He's like, my heart's in the engine room. And then has a heart attack and dies. But has just a great moment where he goes out. The mom is sticking with him through the whole thing, and she's just like this old battle axe who's seen it all. Eventually they go to prison, and then when you see her again, she's just completely tatted up. It's just a great look for her.
They're all trying to, like, they eventually find Hazel and the grandma there, because they've been split up at this point. I'm like, all right, Marco's there, everyone out. And she's like, I'm gonna stay. I kind of like prison.
And then this other character is like, well, all right, I'm going then. And she just makes a beeline through the portal. And that's, is it Petrichor?
Yeah.
Who's the trans character in this.
Yeah.
And I thought she was a great character, too. We were talking about her the other day on, like, you know, what did she bring to it? Other than, like, she's just another good person on their fight. But then Hazel ends up looking up to her because she's like, oh, you are, like, of two worlds like me. Because Hazel has the horns and the wings, and she's the only person like that. So she's like, oh, you know, me and you are, like, the same in that. And that just, like, melts her heart. As she was, like, ready to just leave him and move on with her life. But she ends up shacking up with Robot because he's fluid. And they end up having, like, a relationship there where it's like, oh my god, everyone's making it work.
As soon as that was established that it could be a thing, I was hoping it was a thing.
Me too.
From second one, I was like, oh my god, they need to fuck.
And then there's also the two journalists who are following them and trying to report on them.
I forgot about the journalists and their ongoing thing.
I like, at the beginning, they're just kind of snuck in, and then they end up getting blackmailed because they're gay on a planet that does not allow that.
Yeah.
So they're constantly like, you gotta kill this story, and they became way more important to the story as it went on. They end up like shacking up with the gang too, and everyone's just like, for a very brief moment, everyone seems happy. Where they're on this planet, like this carnival planet almost. It just looks like Coney Island in the distance. And there's this very brief moment where they're just like able to relax and everyone's getting along with everybody and they're like sharing wisdom. And you're like, fuck, this is gonna turn out terribly. But I really liked seeing everyone just being able to like put their guard down and have a breather.
Yeah.
But though, the photographer and the journalist, but they're willing to basically risk everything for this story. Like, it's their job to report the news.
Yeah.
And they end up getting in the situation where it's like, oh, fuck, it's gonna get you killed.
Yeah.
But they still go out doing it, or one of them does, one of them dies, but does it to save one of the other characters.
When they were first introduced, I'm like, is this another wrinkle that we need, I guess, in the story? And then the brand kind of shuts it down, and then they're absent from the book for
a long time.
A minute. And then it comes back to them, and I'm like, what were you doing again? And I only had the benefit of like shotgunning all of these books in a weekend to be like, oh yeah, you were trying to run a story on these two about having a baby, and you're trying to find them. And maybe it was bringing down the robot civilization at the same time. I don't know. That was me just trying to remember, but me saying, like, I read this all in a weekend sounds like a burden. I flew through it, and I loved it.
And you literally did read it in, like, 2 days.
Yes.
9 trades.
9 trades, yeah.
I will say this is probably the easiest read I've ever read.
Yeah.
Like, I just fucking loved it. To the point where it's like, I almost had to pace myself a little bit, because I could just, like, I can just tear this thing down.
Yeah. But I think it's good because you can't even guess where it's gonna go.
No.
Because it's its own property, can do whatever it wants, and people will be dead or hanging on to life, and there's other things happening, other side characters got other motivations. It got a lot going on, and so it keeps you on the hook.
I almost feel bad saying, like, this might be one of my favorite comics I've ever read, because it felt so effortless. Like, it read like it just wrote itself.
Yeah.
And the way it was drawn, it just looks so easy.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I'm used to reading like Grant Morrison, where I have to really puzzle over like, what does this mean? And then I have to look up other stuff. And here, this, I could just like take it and just gobble it up. Yeah. I don't have to like really think and dwell on stuff. It's just, but that's not because it's bad either, or that it's shallow. It's just such an easy book to read and enjoy.
Yes. It deals with just human emotion that everyone understands.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's
really
it. Yeah.
So, on the human emotion, they do tackle some horrible things, too. They end up getting pregnant with another kid, and Alana miscarries in it. And then that's a big part of the book, is, like, she was very close to term, and then they have to, like, remove the baby, or, like, I guess get an abortion, even though it's already dead.
Yeah.
And they have to go to, like, abortion town. This old, like, Wild West town with, like, this owl sheriff that welcomes them there. I love the moment where, like, he's like, all right, I'll see you later. And he turns around, and he's like, but I'm warning you. And it's Oh, were you there just ready to crack that owl?
Oh, boy.
BKB and owls, man.
Oh, my God, those owls.
You know, the time that we assumed there was some sort of deeper owl meaning, and why, and then this. But the moment where she does miscarry is horrible in there, where, like they get jostled around the ship, and, like, he's listening, and she's like, can you hear its heartbeat? Marco, can you hear its heartbeat? And he's just like, all of a sudden you just see tears start coming down his eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. And that's followed by 5 black pages.
Yeah.
In the book, too.
Yep. Oh, yeah, because that is where the meerkat family is devoured by this, like, black hole. Almost like a sentient baby black hole.
The time suck or something?
Yeah, that wipes out that whole planet. And they're like, we need to go. And they're like, no, God has a plan. There's always a black hole. There's always a war. And God always provides. We'll get out of this. And they're like, all right, we got to go. They shoot out. And then they're just wiped out.
Yeah.
And this poor little, like, young meerkat that Hazel actually shares her first kiss with is just, like, reaching out, saying, like, God, why, please? And then, black.
Yeah.
And then, it's like 5 pages, and that's the end of that book.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
that was a heavy one to me.
Yeah. Let's get into Marco real quick. As, the main character, because he goes through a lot, and he's such, like, a righteous dude.
Yeah.
Like, he is out for the best life he can possibly get. And, like, he's a soldier, and, like, he's kind of like, I don't know.
Like a conscientious objector.
Yeah,
kind
essentially.
of, but he's, like, he was enlisted, or he had to fight, but when he deserts, he's like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with violence.
Like, he
pretty much does for most of it. I was like, okay, eventually he's gonna have to fight some people, but, like, he doesn't unless it really comes down to it.
And even then, he doesn't really. Like, he'll, like, knock him away or, like, magic him away or do something. He doesn't want to kill anybody anymore. Like, he even throws all of his weapons and swords and breaks them all. Like, he wants nothing to do with it.
Says something like, if someone has a weapon, they'll find a reason to use it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty brilliant. There. And he's like, I'm not going to have it.
So the first time he's found is because he breaks the sword and it, like, releases some magic or whatever, and they trace that magic.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck, I should have just not broken the sword.
Yeah.
But then he becomes, like, a pacifist for a good chunk of the book, until, like, the pressure is on to have him defend.
Yeah.
But then there's a few times, though, where he just, like, has to undo that vow and just, like, fucking goes ape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, he's someone that obviously came from a violent background. I think we get, like, a very brief window into his past where maybe he was abused as a kid, or he had some kind of issues where, like, he's just like, I am a different person if I get angry.
Yeah.
There's even moments, like, where you can see him, like, starting to, like, flip, and the panel behind him, like, the background goes red, and you're like, oh shit, he's gonna go off. And most of the time, like, he can contain it, but there is, like, a moment where he blows up in Atlanta, and almost, like, ends their marriage right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And
or
you just, like,
at that moment,
she had it coming.
feel like it's equal opportunity.
Yeah. I really like and respect Marco through this whole thing, and just his beliefs. He's like, if we put violence into the world, violence is gonna come back to us. Like, it's equal to what you put in. He's like, I'm not gonna hurt anybody because I want to raise my family and I want us to live happy and healthy and all that.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn, good for you, man. In the midst of all this.
Yeah. And it's just wild because he ends up having a confrontation with one of our other favorite main characters at the end.
All right, let's just get into it. There's no point in, like, circling back.
Yeah.
So big spoiler for the last issue of Volume 9.
Yeah. So the Will has found them. A ton of shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Like, and the Will, he's out for he's ready to take care of everything at this one point because he can.
Yep.
And the first thing, like, that's insanely, like, you're just like, oh my god, I cannot believe they did that, is he rips Prince Robot's head clean off his body.
Yeah.
And that was wild to me.
So that was for killing the Stalk, because
Yeah.
Robot killed Stalk.
Yeah.
So that's one down.
Yeah. And then
But
he's
not
like,
done.
he's not done yet. Like, him and, like, Marco trying to save his family and the Will there all together, like, they get in a tussle and end up blasting off on this other ship, and it's just them two together. And, like, this is where, like, their whole different philosophies clash, essentially. And the Will is like, well, this is what I'm here to do. I'm going to try to kill him. And he's like, I don't want to kill you, essentially. But he knocks him down, and then just, like...
Marco has the moment to kill him.
And
he's like, no. He throws the shield that he was going to, like, chop him with.
Yeah.
And goes and, like, looks out the window back at his family.
Yep. And then just gets fucking skewered by, like, a fucking metal spike on the Will's hand or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's how that volume ends, pretty much, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
Marco laying there
Yeah.
dead, looking up, and Hazel's narration says something like, my parents gave me so much, they gave me the opportunity to grow old. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
And that's how that one ends.
And then it goes on a 3-year hiatus.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I am so glad we didn't read it until now. Can you imagine, like, reading that and then just, like, waiting, like, every month for it to come back?
Yeah.
It's like, nope, a little longer.
Yeah.
So...
To the point where people are like, is it done? Like, is it just over? Are you ever coming back?
It would have been a decent ending.
No,
I mean, we said that
I
there.
think maybe you would have had to tie up a few other things, but I felt pretty satisfied after that, to the point where it's like, I really don't want to read anymore right now. I'm good.
So this is not the first time I've started Saga, but this is the first time I've caught up with it, obviously. Is this the first time you've read it?
Yeah.
Dave, you started and got to...
I read 2 volumes when it came out, I think, and just like, this is good, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
I thought I read farther into it, because I had all the trades in my house. I thought I'd been on at least trade 7. I got done with 3, got into 4, and I'm like, I don't know any of this shit. I didn't hardly read any of it, and I'm like, wow, I can go on like a wild ride here for now.
Yeah, that's how I felt, where it's like, I don't know what to expect out of this. I have no idea what's coming, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, these are all original characters, so anything can happen. It's not like they have to reset the universe afterwards and like bring back Magneto or make this person bad again or anything. It's just like these choices and decisions matter, and there's big ramifications going forward. Like, Marco is dead. Our second main, one of the main characters is done.
Yep.
And it's not his book anymore, but he raised his daughter and he loved Alana, and you're gonna have to see them deal with his loss.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Saga.
Not only that, like, Robot dead too.
Yeah.
And he's got a son too, Squire.
With his little Nest Cam head.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the robot heads for just a minute?
Yes, I was hoping we would.
So, Prince Robot, decent TV.
Right.
Yeah.
The King Robot, giant fucking flat screen TV. It looks like you couldn't even walk it through a door with a remote control staff. And then, like, the janitor, like, more like the servant robots, all have, like, black and white, like, dial TVs, too. I just love the class system shown through the visualization of the TVs.
At first, I thought, like, before we got the janitor one, it was, like, a generational thing. Because you see Prince Robot and his bride for a while, they got the same type of heads, like a...
Almost like an old iMac.
Yeah, exactly,
like
with rabbit ears on.
Yeah.
And then he's got a son, and he's got like this little Nest Cam head or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe if we go back in time, it's got like the big friggin' tube square TVs, and then it'll be like whatever else. Kind of
just
like
the
that.
poor people.
Yeah. The poor people have the old black, because I think he even mentions it once, like the royal family's the only one that has color.
Yeah.
So,
That's just brilliant.
I think they might even use the term colored.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. But like, I did like when you first meet King Robot, and it's this big fucking stupid
splash of his big widescreen TV set.
Oh
head.
my god, I loved it so much.
One other character that they meet along the way, and it's someone who befriends Alana when Alana's acting in a sitcom.
Yeah.
Which is a whole thing, but it's not worth getting into for what I want to talk about. Yeah. But she's like the costume designer and like drug dealer for everyone on set, and they're all taking these drugs called Fade Away. And this woman, this weird spider woman, is just always taking it. And then when it gets to her character's conclusion, where she like has to sacrifice herself to keep their ship running, she like goes into this furnace and like repairs it. But it kills her, and it says something like, here's another victim of this goddamn war. A woman who at least managed to die exactly as she lived. High as fuck. It just shows her, like, just going out in flames. Just baked out of her mind. All the moments where they take the drugs are amazing. Like when Alana takes it, I think for the first time, she like pictures herself almost like in utero, and it just says, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I guess that's Saga, right? Did we do a Saga?
We did a Saga.
My god, this episode was a Saga.
My lord. It's like, Saga's got everything for everyone. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I probably said it already, but I'm going to say it again.
Yep.
It's got everything for everyone.
Yeah. This read, it just rocketed Saga up on my list of comics. And this would probably be the one that I would recommend to anyone beyond a certain age that wants to like get into good comics.
Yes, same.
I think it's just a no-brainer. Turns out everyone that's been saying Saga's great was right. Wow! Who knew? We're the last ones to find out. We had an inkling, but upon reading it, yes,
Yeah.
it is as good as everyone said, if not better.
Brian K. Vaughan does it again.
You
Does
did
it
it again.
Is this the moment where we do finally tell my Brian K. Vaughan story?
I think we should.
I mean, we've hinted at it.
Yeah.
All right, so gather around, everybody. In our very, very early Imperius Rex days, maybe like 4th episode, where we were like, hey, we're doing a show. Look at us doing a show. I bought a lion cat shirt online, and it was a knockoff, I guess, because you couldn't get like the official merch. It was all sold out. And I didn't know any better.
I don't even know if they had merch at that point.
I don't
even know.
They might have. But I just bought a Lion Cat shirt, like on TeePublic or something. Got it. Like, oh, look at I'm doing it. Got a Lion Cat. Put it on, took a picture, posted it. And I was like, check it out. Look at this awesome shirt. Thanks, Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples. Like, within an hour, Brian K. Vaughan retweets this, and he's like, this is fucking what's wrong with independent comic creators. We put our stuff out there and people just fucking rip it off. Like, make sure that if you're buying our stuff, you buy the official merch. And, like, then the comments just blew up and everyone was like, yeah, fuck that guy. He sucks. And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. I was just excited. I got a shirt and I wanted to show you that I like Lion Cat. And then... So that was like a whirlwind. It was just like all of a sudden, like my Twitter blew up more than it's ever done for the show. And then I get a message from Brian K. Vaughan. He slides into my DMs and he's like, "Oh, hey, sorry, dude. I didn't mean to put your picture out there and like make you like on my soapbox for what I was saying." And I was like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I feel horrible. Like, I love your work. I named my son's middle name is Yorick from your comic. I feel bad. I just bought a shirt. I don't know what to do. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, I'm sorry, no problem. And he sent me a bunch of merch. He sent me this shirt. He sent me a smaller one for Roman Yorick.
Yeah.
He sent me this volume before it published and it's signed. And a Saga hardcover with a message on there saying, like, hey,
sorry about the shirt. Sorry for fucking burying you.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and a Will and Lion Cat postcard there that's signed. So I got a bunch of signed BKV stuff, but I mean, at what cost? It was an emotional whirlwind there for about an hour.
We'll never financially recover from this.
No. But that is the BKV story. I still have the Lion Cat shirt. I've considered wearing it, but I didn't want to reopen an old wound. Maybe make you wear it. Okay, Neil, put the shirt on.
Okay, this is cool. Is this official merch?
Yeah. Let's see what Brian said. Well, let's go to the source. But yeah, he ended up being a good sport about it. He fixed whatever mistake I could see that he made, but good guy.
Yeah.
Seems like a very good dude overall.
Yeah. Wish I had the pleasure of getting buried by him too.
Exactly. It'd be like getting buried by Morgan Freeman. Just something like, wow, where did all this anger come from? And why was he saving it up for me?
All I said was, Evan Almighty wasn't as good as Bruce Almighty, and he attacked me
oh man. So there it is. It's all out on the table.
Buy official merch.
If we've learned anything, it's buy the official merch.
Yeah.
Support the creators of these things that we love. Yep, that's that. I'm not going to add anything else. I don't want to open up anything.
But that's going to be it for our Saga talk. So if you want to buy our official merch, go to Redbubble and do whatever we knocked on. But if you have read Saga or are curious about, or what's your favorite parts about Saga, let us know in the comments down below.
God, we said we weren't going to talk that long, and then we talked about everything that happened in the book, while still probably leaving out like 50% of the events.
Oh,
but
yeah.
What a story.
Yeah, it's just spurred back up again. Are you excited for it to come back?
Ooh, that's right. You grab that new-ish. Did you get that new-ish?
Look at that Joe Rogan looking motherfucker.
Joe Rogan koala, as we called him. Stupid Marco replacement. Get him out of here. Those spindly little robot arms.
But if you'd also like to talking about our big comic journeys on our Discord. You can get access to that through our Patreon account.
That's right. In prep for this, we were all kind of rereading Saga or reading Saga for the first time together. Created a special channel. A channel for Saga. Created a special channel called the Saga Saga. And we just all posted our favorite moments and got some feedback from them on some of their favorite things that happened. So it was good. It was a whole experience.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us for this big adventure. But until next time, I've been Short of the Max Extreme.
Dinosaur Neil.
Ghost Hunter Dave.
And we've been Imperius Rex. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. What's a fun way to open the show, you think?
Balloons. Real quick, what Brian K. Vaughan book should we do next if we continue this BK Vaughn-a-thon?
Ex Machina.
Agreed. Yep. Not even close. Yeah, Ex Machina. Maybe Paper Girls.
Oh, I forgot about Paper Girls.
That's a lot shorter.